Hey guys, it's the end of April. Taking a look at the black currant bushes we got here. Looking really good. Starting to set the very first berries. You can see those up here. And still lots of unpollinated flowers. There's a pollinated ovum there. But you can see that they're already actually starting to put out this year's growth. So starting from the top, and each of these nodes as well will put out a new runner. Sorry about that. And the thing with black currants is that they produce fruit on 1-year-old wood, like a lot of berries actually. And so what that means is that this branch that's growing here, this tender young growth, isn't gonna produce any flowers or fruit this year. If we left it, it would produce fruit next year, 2018. But that would mean that the rest of this branch, which would be a 2-year-old branch at that point, would not. These little fruiting spurs would be created and they will produce, and so there is a way you can grow black currants with cordons actually. You can actually see that on this side we have some branches that are kind of horizontal, which isn't a great thing, but you can see that the tips of them are pointing straight up, kind of if you were to brand a cannabis branch over. And so you could grow like a couple cordons coming off a bush in one direction, another direction, and kind of have it tiered up, and have this as your runner, and then have these guys as your production growth. Let's see. So the asparagus actually I think might be coming up soon. Oh, here's a spare right here. So you can see the old ones from last year, and here's one just coming up. Oh, and there's another one right there, still blanched. So that's the white asparagus that hasn't been exposed to the light. And here's another one there. And we also have a nice Fragaria virginiana. So this is the woodland strawberry, the Virginia strawberry. So actually this strawberry and Fragaria chilenensis, the Pacific Coast or Chilean strawberry, I don't really know what the common name for it is, but it grows here even in Oregon on the coast. We're kind of at its northern range. So that and this strawberry here were the two that were hybridized to create the garden strawberry, which is a hybrid entirely, and I think that was done by the French market gardeners. So it was done in Europe, but using 2 New World strawberry species, which is kind of cool. Also out here in the Cascades we have a strawberry variety that was recently characterized. Kind of has a weird chromosome count, and that's Fragaria cascadensis. But anyway, back to the currants. So if you've never had a black currant, they have a very unique taste. Oh, there's a wasp there. He might be looking for aphids. We do have just the very early start of them. You can see some of the issues with the currants here is that we have this rust. I'm not entirely sure if this is viral infection or if it's caused by some mite or something inside of the bud that's overwintering. So that's one of the things, but you can see these bushes actually have kind of grown out of that. Their root system and their health is good enough that they can basically resist and only get a minor amount of it. The red currants get that much worse, but those are doing quite well as well this year. So that's all great. So our soil is doing good. But here you can see the aphid, signs of aphids right here. The curled up leaves at the tip. If we take a look inside, oh, look at that. There's a ladybug chilling in there, munching on aphids, I'm sure. So, it looks like it's been eating them there. You can see just a couple left over. Right there, there's one fat one. Squashed. So yeah, it's not really a big issue, and as far as I'm concerned, aphids are just food for predatory bugs. So if you want more ladybugs, lacewings, praying mantises, that type of stuff, predatory wasps, you have to have their food source. So it's kind of one of those, you know, almost contradictory things, that actually the more pests you promote in a healthy natural system, the better it becomes. Anyway, so if you've never had a blackcurrant before, it has this really unique taste to it. Very hard to describe, just like most berries. I mean, try to describe what a strawberry tastes like, somebody who's never had it. But maybe you've had cassis, which is like a liqueur made out of blackcurrant, I think. And there's a bunch of blackcurrant flavored stuff. I really like the taste. The berries, most people, I think, especially Americans, would find them very sour. But if you let them ripen properly, there are varieties that are quite sweet, like these two here. There's a bumblebee. But the problem is that you can see a little berry already developing there. The problem is that they turn black quite a bit before they're actually ripe. So, you know, the color change isn't actually a good indicator of when they're ripe. The kind of cool, unique thing about blackcurrants is that the leaves and the plant tissue has that same terpene, or that same smell compound and taste compound that the berries have, that they're kind of known for. And so when I rub the sleeve, I can smell basically the exact same smell or flavor or scent, whatever you want to call it, as the berries. So what I think I'm going to do, and I often actually, after I harvest the berries, I'll go through and harvest the leaves as well. Because like I said, I'm going to be growing the next year's crop not on these here, but rather on the ones that are going to come out straight from down there, like this one here. Once we do our summer trim, there'll be more light getting into here, and that will produce vigorous zero or kind of first order growth from the crown, from the base of the plant. And that's what you want, as much of that as possible. So an ideal blackcurrant situation would be where you're producing as many of these really thick 1-year-old shoots as you can, and then cutting them out each year and producing them over and over. That's what will give you the most production year in, year out. And of course that's difficult because you're not going to get enough of those shoots in a year unless you do very vigorous trimming. So again, one of those cases where the more kind of harsher it is with cutting it, the more production you're going to get. Remember, there's no better growth stimulant than trimming a plant. You can see how thick that crown has gotten. And so that thick one on the left, that's going to be tough to cut out, but eventually we'll need to get that out. And the ones that come out from in there are the best ones to keep. but you need to get light in there to produce more of this. So in theory, if you wanted to save a bush that's not producing well, what you can do is actually just chop it down, you know, pretty close, a foot or so off the ground, to give light to that area. You won't get any berries that first year, but you'll get lots of restorative growth, and you'll get tons of fruit the next year. So because of that, I can actually freely come in here and harvest these growth tips already. It's not going to affect the berry production. We have lots of other leaves already. And these have lots of that smell compound. It's very strong. And I like to harvest these for tea. Kind of a similar way you would actually harvest Camellia sinensis, you know, just the growth tip with a few leaves. And then later on in the year, I'll come through and harvest some of these inner ones to clear out the canopy, give it a bit more ventilation, and again, because I want the leaves for tea. So I might also try extracting the stuff in alcohol and see if I can pull out that compound. So we'll give that a shot as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching. It's kind of a random episode about probably my favorite berry to grow. And we'll see you guys in the next one.